Can we just get a bit of a demo around like how you actually kind of build the community behind the scenes in SportsGrad to give some people just a couple ideas?
Yeah, sure thing. So if you ask like any entrepreneur what they hate doing, it is fundamentally solving the same problem twice. And so what I like to do primarily through Notion is use it for a lot of standard operating procedures, SOPs. So in here is basically like the wiki of how SportsGrad runs. Like if I've done something once, it's documented in here, and it's a lot. But that means that like if we need to do something like, for example, do a podcast that's coming up. We go into the podcast calendar here, and we can open up this page, and we can see all 300 and something episodes that have gone out, and click into any one of them. But if we got a new podcast coming out, we just go drop down here, new podcast. I'll click on that, and everything's sort of like templated and ready to go. So I know what the intro is. I know that every week I just updated how many jobs in sport we've helped people get, give a shout out to someone who we've recently helped in our community. Our intro has got a bit of a formula to it as well, and then so does our set of questions in the story that we'd like to tell of people's careers, and also the problems that they have and questions we can ask people in the industry. Are they going to help get the answers that we want? So everything's kind of been systemized from that point of view for one of our main products, which is this podcast. Another key one is like anytime we run an event as well, there's usually a standard set of ways that we go about it. For example, like, the run sheet for it, or the way that we market it on the night, things we send to guests beforehand or guests afterwards. Like we've done 45 events across Australia, India, and the UK. And so you get to a point where you're like, all right, we need a photographer, send them the photographer brief. We need a videographer, send them a videographer brief. So all those little things are kind of ironed out, and I don't have to think like, all right, how are we going to make the most of it? It's all been done and turned into a system. And then the other probably key one too is probably for hiring as well. So you can see here we've got these are basically all job descriptions with that basically speak to every single task that needs to be done within that job. So for example, today or tomorrow, I'm probably going to bring on a new career consultant, and I basically am going to say to them like, hey, here's your job description, here's like the targets we have, and then importantly, here's like every step of the process. So for our career consultant tasks, I basically try and break down like, why is this task important? What do you need to do? And then what does excellence look like? And I usually show myself doing that through a recorded video as well. So there's absolutely no guesswork on like, what you need to be doing. And we've done that for everything. So not just like what these consultants have to do, but also, what our operations people have to do, what our content people have to do. Anyone who's ever worked for SportsGrad has got like a page like this that, breaks down what to do and how to do it well at a fundamental level. On top of that, there's room for creativity and room for people to say like, hey, Ruben, you actually don't know the best way to do it. I think we can do it better. I'm like, that's perfect. Like I want you to bring that to me too. But as a starting point, anything that we know works, we document it and live it in and put it in here. So that's kind of how I use it for my business as well. I've also used it for my personal life as well, and to kind of help build what I end up calling a career operating system. And this is something that we now share with everyone in SportsGrad. And this basically gets people to break down like, where are you going in your career over 10, 5, 1 years? And then what are the 4 types of career related goals that are going to help you get there? So which we break down into a people goal, a skill goal, a project goal, a brand goal. And then kind of use different types of databases and filters to be like, all right, based on your, 1 year goal, this is what the next 90 days looks like. And based on those 90 days, this is what the next 30 days look like. And then based on those 30 days, how should you be planning your week? And so we set people up with like a weekly planner, which is exactly the same weekly planner that I use, which looks, basically something like this, where we just get people to re-articulate what they're working towards every week, what that looks like throughout the week. So when they're going to get done, and then review their week as well. Because one of the fundamental problems we find with people chasing any sort of career is that they, laziness somewhat kicks in, or, they'll have like a really fast start and then, they'll fall off a bit. So what this career operating system does is really provide a system and a net for people to keep them productive so they can actually be consistent with the actions that are going to get them closer to their career. So that is another way that we use Notion to help our community, actually give them a backbone to their career.
Wow, wow, wow. Everyone give a huge reaction applause of Ruben's brain. I told you it was going to be amazing, right? Like Ruben's so cool because, this can, and for some people, they might just go, oh my God, how do I get to that point? Like, that's wild. Like, I'm so far from that. Like, do you have any advice for anyone who's like, okay, I'm not that organized. I don't have my entire community wiki page set up with like every process document. Like, do I just go and record all the videos for everything in my community operations like right now? Or do you like have a habit to kind of start somewhere small if someone's like just gotten a Notion account and like from day one doing something?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is just start. Like what you saw there has been built up over 6 years. And again, like across here, like you can see, like I've got like my journals as well that I use too. On Tuesday this week, I went on the Imperfects podcast and basically kind of told my story and experience of some stuff I've been through. And one of the bits of feedback I got from that was that, oh, Ruben, your recall of your stories and quotes that have come up on your journey is like crystal clear. And I'm like, the reason why it is because I have been journaling for like the last 6 years in Notion. Like all these experiences like immediately come out of my brain into Notion, journal it. And then like at the end of every month, I'll kind of review like key sort of journal entries as well. So that a lot of that helps my recall. But then if you're just getting started from a business point of view, I think the most useful thing that I've found for it is from that SOP point of view, where if you can basically handle any mundane task to somebody else, then that would just make your life a whole lot easier. But to do that effectively, you need to be specific. And so sort of the three sort of headlines that I use to kind of create any sort of, or to handle any sort of task, and for those who aren't Australian, handle means to delegate.
Yeah, AFL.
Yep.
Yeah.
To delegate any sort of task, like the more specific you are, the better. So I'll always answer, why is this important? What do you need to do? Outline the steps. What does excellent look like? And then record myself with like a 5 or 10 minute Loom video doing it well. And one thing I've gotten better at is not creating like a 20-minute Loom video, trying to do the whole thing at once, but actually breaking it down so that your staff can kind of, get through it bit by bit. So yeah, that's where I would start.
Love that. Yeah, the Community Collective, like anytime we have we built an ambassador program, we have 15 new ambassadors who've just joined the Community Collective across 10 different countries. And we all give them our events playbook. So we've got this incredible ambassador, Hakan, in Germany, and he's like, I want to run an event in Berlin for 100 people. And we're like, amazing. So instead of like me saying, okay, great, like go run the event, I'm going to give you the entire events playbook at the Community Collective. We've ran over 480 events for over 20,000 people in 5 years. And so I'm going to give you my events playbook. It's documented. And then I give that to each of our ambassadors and go, this is me setting you up for success. And it's just that one step. So I've just documented it in the process of me handing it over, not I'm going to go away and block out my time, because then it's just not a priority, right? So Ruben, thank you so much for sharing this incredible demo. Can we